What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we're back with our updated Dannyology Power 35 rankings, and we're a day late this week, but we will be including the big games on Monday night. Of course, Kansas State versus Kansas, which just ended in overtime as I'm recording this video on Monday night, where Kansas State did pull off that upset, and that actually caused, Kansas to not be as high as I originally had them yesterday. Also, Virginia demolished Miami. Virginia's hot right now. I mean, Tony Bennett in his bag, holding opponents to under 40 points. Yeah, let's get into these rankings. So, like I said, usually we come out with these Monday morning, but this week it'll be Tuesday morning. And subscribe for more college basketball content, all that good stuff. But let's get into it. Same number one. I did consider, however, putting Purdue over UConn this week. I mean, Purdue beat Northwestern, although at home in overtime, probably should have beat them by more. Let's be real, but Northwestern's a good team, so I'm not going to hold them back. They did find a way to win that game, and then they go on the road to Wisconsin, which I think is the second best team probably in the Big Ten right now. Wisconsin, they had a bad week this week, but yeah, that was a great game. Also, they went on the road and beat Wisconsin. I definitely considered putting Purdue over UConn, but I feel like there's no reason to drop UConn right now. They're a hot team. The Big East is a great, great conference, and they're killing it, man. They're the defending national champs. They look like they have a serious opportunity to go back-to-back. Absolutely killing it once again this week. They had an absolutely amazing game against Providence. I mean, that was such a physical, grinded-out game that UConn was able to pull away in and be able to win. Very fun game to watch. Big East basketball is super fun. I decided to keep UConn number one. Of course, keep Purdue at number two. And staying at number three is actually North Carolina. Now, before Kansas did lose to Kansas State, I was saying, if Kansas is able to beat Houston like they did, beat them in a very good game. They played so well in that game against a very good Houston team. I said, if Kansas is able to beat Houston and go on the road and beat Kansas State tonight, I think I would maybe consider putting Kansas over North Carolina at 3, but definitely had them at 4. So you might be thinking, oh, Kansas just lost to Kansas State. Why are they climbing 3 spots? Well, I had them at 11 last week, after losing on the road at West Virginia, which is a very bad loss. But I did, after the Houston win, I did have them at 4. I'm not going to lie. So technically they did still drop again after losing on the road at Kansas State, and I decided to put them down here at 8, but we'll get to them. Number 3, we do still have North Carolina. Yes, they did lose to Georgia Tech. That is a very bad loss, but then they bounced back from that and beat Duke in the big-time rival game. It was at home. It was a good game. And North Carolina, they're just playing like the third best team in college basketball right now. And I don't really want to drop them too much for the Georgia Tech loss, because that is their only loss in conference play, whereas Purdue has lost in conference play. UConn has lost in conference play. Like, it happens, and that was their first one. If it happens again, they might drop a little bit, especially if teams like Tennessee, Marquette, Arizona, Houston, or Kansas, if they get on a roll, they could definitely take that spot from them. But right now, I think keeping North Carolina at 3 is the right move. They did bounce back already from that loss with a big win over Duke, so I'm keeping North Carolina here at number 3. Number 4, we do have Tennessee jumping up 1 spot. Big win over Kentucky this week, and yeah, it looked amazing. I mean, their inside game, their front court looks awesome. Dalton Knecht, he is a superstar, but they didn't really have to rely on him this weekend. I mean, Zakai Ziegler was on an absolute tear. Like I said, their front court was amazing on the offensive and defensive end. Looking absolutely fantastic. Tennessee, number 4 right now. Number 5, we do have Marquette. They're on a big time win streak. Tyler Kolek has been on another level the past couple of weeks. And Cam Jones, really, too. I think he had a 30-piece in one of those games. Yeah, Marquette absolutely killing it. They're up here at number 5. Number 6, we do have Arizona. 2-0 week for them. They need to dominate in the Pac-12. There's nobody even close to on their level. I would say they're the second best team in the 12 right now is Washington State, and they're not even in my Power 35. Arizona is my only Pac-12 team in the Power 35. Washington State is in the teams to watch. But, yeah, Arizona, they should be chillaxing these teams. But they're still number 6 because their non-con record is very good whenever they're going up against other really good teams. And, yeah, I mean, when they play really good teams, they beat them. Like Wisconsin, shellax them. They beat Duke on the road in Cameron Indoor. Like, they have really good non-con wins. I think it's kind of elevating them up here to number 6, especially because they had a good week this week. Number 7, we do have Houston dropping 3 spots from number 4 to number 7. And the big question mark with this one is going to be like, why do you have Houston still over Kansas? Kansas just beat them. Well, yeah, Kansas was at home, though. And Kansas also just lost another game on the road at Kansas State. So that just proves, winning on the road is really hard, especially in the Big 12. And the same thing goes with Kansas. I mean, Iowa State just beat Kansas in Hilton Coliseum just last week. And I have Kansas still above Iowa State. And Kansas State just beat Kansas. We're not just going to put Kansas State above Kansas just because they beat them. You guys get the point. So I still have Houston above Kansas right now. If Kansas was able to pull that one off against Kansas State, they would probably be number 4, possibly number 3, but I think number 4 is where I would have stuck them. But they're number 8 here after losing to Kansas State. Number 9, staying in the same spot, is Iowa State. They only played one game this week. It was against Baylor on their road, and they did lose that game. However, they shot a buzzer beater. It went in, was a hair too late, or they would have won that game on a insane buzzer beater. I really like this Iowa State team, and the fact that that game was on the road as well to a very good Baylor team, I'm not going to knock them too much for that. In fact, I'm not knocking them at all. I'm keeping them at the exact same spot. They're staying in the top 10, and they're staying here at number 9. I don't feel like power ratings-wise they should go down for that when, 0.2, 0.3 seconds, if that shot was shot earlier, Iowa State won that game, and who knows, they would probably be in my top 5. Definitely number 6. I would have them above Arizona if they would have beat Baylor with that buzzer beater. So they would be higher, but because of that, because they didn't win, and it was a hair too late, they are going to stay in the same spot here at number 9. Number 10, we do have Auburn. Had a really good week, and I said this last week. I dropped them a ton last week. They were all the way down to like 20-something, 24 actually. And I said if they were able to bounce back after these 2 bad losses, then I would put them back up. And I did. I put them back up 14 spots here at number 10. They do have a very tough week coming up. I believe they play South Carolina and Alabama this upcoming week. So that's going to be a true test for really all 3 of these teams. I mean, Auburn and Alabama already played this year. Alabama did win. That was at home. This time it's going to be in the jungle in Auburn. So we'll see if it's a different outcome. True test for Auburn, true test for South Carolina coming up here. I'm going to find a lot about these SEC teams. Number 11, we do have Illinois. Very good week for them, jumping up 7 spots here from number 18 to number 11. Looking really good. I mean, they got Terrence Shannon Jr. back. Even in his absence, they were proving that they can still win ball games, which was very good to see. Then they get their guy back, looking very good. Big Coleman Hawkins guy, I think he is a beast. And yeah, Illinois is up here at number 11. Another good week from them, and they could easily be in the top 10. Number 12, we do have Wisconsin, only dropping 6 spots. And honestly, there could be definitely a debate for them to drop more. But with so many teams losing this week, I still kept them up here at number 12. I mean, they did lose to Nebraska and to Purdue. The only thing is, I don't knock them too much for the Purdue loss because, Purdue is just that good. So I didn't want to knock them too much for that. But the Nebraska loss, they did have to knock down a little bit. They definitely fell out of my top 10 here to number 12, dropping 6 spots. Number 13, we do have the Creighton Blue Jays dropping 3 spots. 1 in 1 week. They did lose to Butler in overtime in a very good close game. It was a home game for Creighton, and I only knocked them 3 spots from number 10 to number 13. Still think Creighton's a very good team. Overtime loss in conference. I still really like what this Creighton team's doing. I feel like 13's a good spot for them this week. Number 14, staying in the same spot, we do have Duke. 1-1 week. Their only loss this week did come to North Carolina, which is my number 3 team. On the road, that was, of course. So I didn't feel like power ratings wise, I had to knock Duke really at all. I feel like staying in the same spot here at 14 was a good spot for them. Number 15, we do have South Carolina. And I mentioned this last week. They beat Kentucky before last week's power rankings, so I ranked them. I said, if they can keep this up, if they somehow find a way to beat Tennessee as well, they're going to skyrocket up my rankings, and that is exactly what happened. They had another 2-0 week. They defeated Tennessee. They defeated Georgia after defeating Kentucky last week, looking very good, and they jumped up 19 spots up my rankings here to number 15. So how about those Gamecocks? They are absolutely killing it. Number 16, we do have TCU, and TCU jumping up 1 spot. They actually had a pretty good week this week. Need to keep it up. I mean, the Big 12 it's so hard to get wins in the Big 12. TCU is playing very good, and yeah, they're up here at number 16, up 1 spot. Of 15 spots, another SEC team climbing on a roll like South Carolina is Alabama. Alabama's absolutely killing it. If they find a way to beat Auburn and the Jungle, I don't think that will happen. I think Auburn's going to be too good. I mean, that crowd is going to be insane. But if they find a way to do that, have a 2-0 week, it's possible Alabama could be in the top 10 next week. That is not out of the realm of possibilities. So look out for Alabama. Mark Sears has been playing amazing this year. One of the more underrated players in college basketball. Keep your eye out on him. But yeah, Alabama jumping up all the way in the top 20 here to number 17. Number 18, we do have the Baylor Bears. Mentioned them earlier. They got 2 good wins this week, including the one over Iowa State at home, which they just almost lost on that buzzer beater. Because of that, they are jumping up 5 spots here. A good week after Baylor's had a couple of rough weeks in the Big 12. They're jumping up to 18 from 23 last week. Jumping up 2 spots, we have the Dayton Flyers. I believe they are my highest mid-major team ranked right now. Playing absolutely amazing. They had the one loss to Richmond a couple of weeks ago. Ever since then, haven't lost again. Absolutely killing it. Running the A10 conference. Looking really good. Darren Holmes, another super underrated player. Definitely get to learn his name. Number 20 is right next to him. Is my next mid-major is the St. Mary's Gales. They're looking amazing. They're undefeated in conference play. Undefeated in the West Coast Conference. And they just got a win over Gonzaga in the Kennel on the road. Looking fantastic. They're up 10 spots from number 30 to number 20 this week. And my third mid-major team, we ranked our top 3 mid-majors all really close together because I do believe that all 3 of these mid-majors are the best mid-majors, and they are all that close. At 21, we do have FAU jumping up 1 spot after another 2-0 week this week here in the AAC. And yeah, they're here at 21, jumping up 1 spot. Like I said, all 3 of these mid-majors, Dayton, St. Mary's, FAU, absolutely killing it. And yeah, I feel like it's all they're all very close right now. Number 22, dropping 10 spots from last week, we do have Kentucky. 0-2 week this week, including a loss over Tennessee. Don't knock them too much for a Tennessee loss, but they really over the past couple of weeks, they've just been playing bad. They had to drop out of the top 20 here, and they're dropping down to 22. BYU here at 23. They had a good week this week. Went on the road to Morgantown and won, which has proven to be not an easy task. Like, it usually isn't, but WVU's not very good this year. But this year, even when they're not that good, Texas went in there and lost, Kansas went in there and lost, but Cincinnati went in there and lost earlier this week. But BYU went in there and got the job done, and they are jumping up 3 spots from 26 to 23. Texas Tech, one of my biggest followers this week. We do have them dropping 16 spots. 0-2 week this week. I believe they lost to Texas and TCU, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, they're dropping. They were my number 18. They were in the top 10 last week. They were looking very good, but they're dropping out. Maybe an over exaggeration. The Big 12 is just very tough, but they can climb back up. They can bounce back. This happened to TCU already. Like, they fell, they bounced back. Texas Tech can definitely bounce back with a good week here in the Big 12. Number 25, Virginia. They're jumping up. They were unranked for me last week, but they're on a roll right now. They just held Miami to 38 points. Like I said, Tony Bennett in his bag, vintage Tony Bennett right now, and definitely starting to become maybe a little bit of a sleeper in my eyes when it comes to March Madness. I mean, I know that Virginia has a history of losing early in March Madness, not just the year that they, in 2018 when they lost 16 seed, they have lost to, the Jason Preston Ohio Bobcats team when they were like a 14 seed and Virginia was a 3 seed. They lost last year to, who was that? They just got upset last year as well. So Virginia is always a team you got to be hesitant about picking in March Madness, but this is a sleeper Virginia team, a team that feels like they have something to prove. I like them a lot. I'm putting them up here at 25 this week. They are on a roll right now. I think they're on a 7-game win streak. Absolutely killing it. Number 26, we do have, they lost to Furman, by the way. I just thought of it. Furman last year was the team that beat Virginia. New Mexico at 26, dropping 10 spots after a home loss to Boise. That was the first loss in the pit this year. And, it's tough to win every game at home. I thought that was one that they should have got there at Boise. It just seemed like everything was going Boise's way. Let's see if New Mexico can bounce back from that. They're dropping 10 spots here from 16 last week to 26 this week. Number 27, we have San Diego State dropping 8 spots. They did take a loss to Colorado State this week, so they're going to drop a little bit here to 27. Seton Hall, 1-0 week this week. They're jumping up 1 spot from 29 to 28. Seton Hall, one of my favorite sleepers this year. I really like Seton Hall this year. They are definitely a sleeper when it comes to March. That is a video I'm coming out with very soon. My top Power 6 sleepers heading into March Madness. Going to be anywhere from the ranges of like projected 5 seeds to like 11 seeds. Going to be a banger. Next up, we got 29. We got Utah State dropping 14 spots. They're another Mountain West team that did take a loss this past week. So they're dropping here a little bit to 29. Jumping up 1 spot, we do have Appalachian State from 31 to number 30. Absolutely killing it in the Sun Belt. Another 2-0 week. Yeah, they're definitely the favorites in the Sun Belt. They swept James Madison this year, which was their main competition. The Mountaineers are absolutely killing it. Number 31, not ranked last week. We do have Texas. They had a good week. I mean, they have a solid roster. They're just so unlikable, which doesn't have any effect on my rankings, but they're very unlikable, especially the way that Rodney Terry has been acting about like horns down and stuff this year is kind of ridiculous. I mean, but they have an insane roster. I mean, Max A-Smith, I feel like, hasn't been talked about as much as I expected him to be this year. I mean, all offseason, our top transfer, everybody's top transfer was Hunter Dickinson. He's been getting all the love this year. Our second top transfer from this offseason was Max A-Smith. I feel like he hasn't really been getting that much attention, and he has been playing great. And then they also have Tyrese Hunter. They have a squad down there, man, in Texas. If they can put it together, start getting some wins in the Big 12, look out for them. They could be definitely a sleeper this year. Number 32, we do have Grand Canyon, and Grand Canyon is up 4 spots for me, which I must have did that math wrong somehow, because if they were up 4 spots, that means that they weren't ranked last week, but they were definitely ranked last week. So I think I mistyped that one, but they are up a couple of spots from last week. I think they were 34, 35 last week, so they're up 2 or 3 spots and not 4. But yeah, Grand Canyon killing it once again this week. Colorado State, not ranked last week, got a big-time win over San Diego State. A 2-0 week, starting to, get it back together. They had a couple of rough weeks. starting to play really good once again. Oklahoma down 9 spots. A rough week for them, like I said earlier, with other teams like Texas Tech. It's really easy to rack up some losses in the Big 12. Oklahoma's got to rebound off this and pick up some solid wins. Next up we got Northwestern, another team that had a rough week, 0-2 this week in the Big 10. I feel like Northwestern is always having a very, very good week and then a very bad week. 2-0 week, 0-2 week, 2-0 week, 0-2 week. Like, it seems like they're jumping constantly from like 20 to 35, 35 to 20, and that's exactly what happened. They were 20 last week, they're 35 this week. Next week they will probably be 20. Who knows? But yeah, that is the Power 35 this week. Teams to watch. I do want to mention Kansas State here real quick. I did consider putting them here in the rankings. They did just upset Kansas at home. I want to see a little bit more consistency with this Kansas State team. I still believe they are a bubble team when it comes to like bracketology and stuff. I need to see them put together another really good week, and they're definitely top of my list. They're probably 36 right now. If you wanted to argue them over Northwestern, Oklahoma, I would be fine with that. I would be fine. If you wanted to take one of those mid-major teams out and put Kansas State in, I would not be mad at you. But yeah, Kansas State definitely my top team to watch. Butler's on an absolute roll. I mentioned them earlier. They won overtime in Omaha. What a win that was. Look out for the Butler Bulldogs. They're another bubble team when it comes to the NCAA tournament that I would keep an eye out on. Cincinnati got a big-time win this week. Actually, I think it was Cincinnati that was one of the teams that beat Texas Tech this week, and I think that was in Lubbock. I'm almost positive, actually, that's what it was. So that was a big win for Cincinnati, but they did take a loss on the road in Morgantown at West Virginia, which was not a good loss. But, it's tough to win, especially on the road in the Big 12, which is why it is so impressive that they did get a win in Lubbock, which is one of the harder places to play in the Big 12. I'd say it's probably third, just behind, Allen Fieldhouse and Hilton Coliseum. Next up, we do have Michigan State as team to watch. They had a really good week, another good week. They'll definitely be in the rankings. They have all the talent in the world. Tom Izzo. They just need to build some consistency, and they'll be climbing up the board. Next up, Nebraska. Nebraska got a really good win over Wisconsin, and then they lost to who was it? They lost to Illinois on the road, which isn't necessarily a bad loss. I think they were on my teams to watch last week, and they're staying in the teams to watch this week. Princeton's been on my teams to watch. Killing it there in the Ivy League. Got to look out for Cornell. Cornell's been playing good, but other than that, Princeton, they're running away with that league right now. Ole Miss is a team to watch. They beat their rival Mississippi State this past week. Looking pretty good. Let's see if they can keep it up. Boise State, they got a big win. Like I said, the only team to beat New Mexico in the pit this year. Very, very solid win. See if they can build up some momentum. Florida actually got a win over Kentucky this past week. That was a very good win. That was the other team that Kentucky lost to, other than Tennessee. Lost to Florida, lost to Tennessee this week. Was Kentucky. Florida, definitely on the teams to watch. And then Washington State. Washington State is actually, building up quite a little bit of a win streak here. I think they're probably on like a 4 or 5 game win streak. I think they won 6 of their last 7, and one of those was against Arizona. So Washington State, definitely a team to watch. It keeps bouncing around. First it was Colorado. I thought it was the second best team in the Pac-12. Then I thought it was Utah. Now I'm thinking it's Washington State. So let me know, who you guys think is the second best team in the Pac-12, and do you guys think that a second team will make the March Madness tournament out of the Pac-12 other than Arizona? Let me know down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about my rankings. Who should be higher? Who should be lower? Who got snubbed? Let me know down below in the comment section. We're going to drop these every single week as we have been doing this season on Monday mornings. I know we're a day late this week. Coming up on the channel. I'm going to make my own personal bracketology this week, and we're going to do our updated bracketology predictions where we fill out our bracket from the first round to all the way to the national championship. We're doing those every 2 weeks, and this week is a week that we are doing it, and I think I'm going to fill it out. I'm going to fill out my own personal bracketology this week instead of doing Joe Lenardi's. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's what's upcoming here on the channel. And yeah, guys, subscribe for more college basketball content, and thank you so much for watching.